Hi, I'm Brian Czar with DTC Digs and Greenwood Estates Realty, and I'm pretty excited today because we are going to be reviewing a summary of our property flip, including talking about just kind of the high level points and final results of all of our work. So, what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into four sections. First, we're going to talk about the purchase transaction and provide high level look of, as to how that worked for us. Then we're going to look at the renovations. Then we're going to look at the transaction sale. So, once it was all ready to go, what did that sales and marketing look like? And then finally, we're going to talk about the final results of the flip and whether or not we are happy with those results. So, anyway, without further ado, first let's talk about the purchase itself. So, the purchase itself was pretty uneventful. We didn't expect there to be any hiccups, and there weren't. It was a cash purchase, no inspection, no appraisal. Very easy peasy, no contingencies. So that was easy. What was a great pleasant surprise was that the seller allowed us to start demoing in the property a full week prior to closing. Now that doesn't usually happen, but in this particular case, we had a great relationship with the seller, and we provided him with an additional $25,000 of non-refundable earnest money. And so that was enough to give him the confidence and comfort to allow us to get in there a little bit early and start our work in the property. So that was awesome. So now, with possession of the property, we went into the renovation stage of the flip, and the renovation stage of the flip that was guided by our partners over at Denver Property Flip, who managed all the repairs and all the construction at the property. And we do give Denver Property Flip credit. They did a great job in managing expectations, managing costs, managing the timeline. There were no significant hiccups in that process. I'd say there's a couple bumps, as in as with any construction project, but those bumps were not particularly significant. I think there's a couple of examples we can run through with you here, but again, nothing crazy big. One of the kind of funny things was with our refrigerator. So we had ordered a standard depth refrigerator because there's no reason for us, in our opinion, up front to have gotten a counter depth fridge, because those are typically a couple $100 more. And so we got a standard depth refrigerator. Well, as it turns out, the dishwasher, which was right in front of the refrigerator, could not close without hitting the fridge. So we ended up having to return that standard depth fridge and get a counter depth one. So in order for that dishwasher to open all the way, so that was one thing we had to do. We leveled the entryway floor, which was outlined in one of our videos there, and I think we did a great job with leveling that floor. Inevitably we ended up. You could tell that the flooring was not 100% level. It was I think a difficult proposition from the start, but we did a good job. It just wasn't something that was perfectly level, and the end buyer ended up not mattering to. He ended up loving the property as is, and so really ended up becoming a non-issue for the end buyer. So that was good. And then the sliding glass doors. So there's two of them, right? One to the living room, one to the bedroom, and those slider doors are expensive to replace. It was going to be like $2,000, $2,500 per slider, and so we decided, what, we don't need to replace, we don't need to replace them because they're working fine. Well, they were working fine for the entire construction phase of the property, and then when it came time to show the property, they started having issues with their locking mechanism. So right, just prior to showing the property, we ended up reaching out to Denver Property Flip. They sent their guys over. They did a good job of repairing them. We didn't end up having too many issues, during the showings on those. So that was just a small, thing we had to navigate through, and then we did a couple blue tape walks, which as you may know, I mean, those are really great to have with a contractor anytime you have a project getting done, so you can tape, tape around the unit in order to identify areas for touch up, whether it's on the trim or paint, so that they can do kind of a one final swoop. So anyway, that was with the construction stage. So now that everything was looking beautiful, and we took photos and 3D tour and staged it, then it was time to sell it. And that's where things got a little bit interesting. So we ran into a little bit of bad luck. So we knew we were listing it on the back end of prime selling season, and we're trying to time it where we could list it just before things started to slow down. Well, the market had just started to slow down the week prior to when we went on the market, and so we ended up getting a little bit of headwind because things were starting to slow down. And then in addition to that, there were a couple properties that had been listed on the market that were really, really similar to ours, that looked nice inside. A couple of which were actually even slightly bigger than us, and so buyers had a lot of options that first weekend when we were on the market, and so that made it difficult having all these competing properties, whereas in the previous weeks there had been virtually none. So that was difficult. But even still, we had listed at 280, and we almost went under contract at 285 prior to even hitting the market, and so we just narrowly missed on that 285. And then once we were on the market, we went under contract at full list price within a few days, and everything was looking good. But then a week into that transaction, the buyer got cold feet and terminated. So then we had to go back on the market, and so we're listed at 280 then, for that second weekend, no buyers. So then we had to lower it to 275 the following week. A lot of showings, no buyers. So then the following week, then we were in a position where we wanted to put it in our contract as soon as we could. We wanted to close it, get our money back as soon as we could as well. So we decided, instead of lowering it from 275 to 270, we lowered it from 275 to 268, feeling very confident we are going to put it on our contract right away. And that's exactly what happened. Within a few days, we found a great buyer who loved the property, made a full price offer. We went under contract. And so anyway, fast forwarding through that sale process, we ended up negotiating $1,500 on the inspection items, and we ended up closing within a 4-week period. So anyway, that's how that transaction worked. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we were pleased with the end result, but it wasn't without a lot of a lot of things happening. So anyway, going to the final results. So we purchased the property for 180. We sold it for 268. So there was $88,000 of gross margin. So really, what we bought it for versus what we paid for. And originally our target was $100,000 in that gross margin, but $88,000 was still good. And then from that $88,000, you have to subtract the renovation costs and then the transaction costs, right? Because we have to pay the agents in order to sell, and bring the buyer on the property. And then we had staging costs on top of that, the inspection items as well as the closing costs. I don't know if I mentioned that on the sale. So it ended up being profitable. It wasn't wildly profitable, but at the same time, it was still worth doing. I would say, we learned a lot. It was profitable for us, so that was great, and it gave us a first opportunity to work with Denver Property Flip on a flip. So it was good. It was a successful flip, and we thank our partners over at Denver Property Flip, and look forward to doing another one or so here in the future. We specialize on resale transactions for our clients, of course, but every once in a while it's fun and enriching for us to do these flips. So anyway, thanks again for joining us on this flip. If you have questions, please reach out. We are your Denver real estate resource for real estate. So anyway, thanks again, and we'll catch you later.